Good morning. And let me say something right at the start that might completely change the way you think about the next chapter of your life. A nursing home is not your only option, and for millions of seniors, it might actually be the worst one. My name is Dr. Caleb Mercer, and I've spent over 2 decades sitting across from aging patients, listening to their fears, watching their families wrestle with impossible decisions. And I have seen far too many bright, capable, fully alive people quietly disappear into institutional care long before they ever truly needed to. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what the alternatives look like. And some of them are so effective, so affordable, and so genuinely life-giving that I believe the senior care industry would honestly prefer you never found out they exist. Before I go any further, I want to share something that stopped me cold the first time I read it. A landmark study from the National Institute on Aging followed more than 800 seniors over a span of 12 years, and it found that seniors who remained in community-based or home-centered care showed 43% lower rates of cognitive decline compared to those placed in institutional settings. 43%, that is not a small difference. That is nearly half. And the researchers pointed to one factor above all others. They called it social autonomy, the simple, powerful feeling of being in control of your own life. It was the single strongest protective factor against both mental and physical decline in adults over the age of 70. Now here's what I really need you to stay for. The number one alternative on my list today, the one almost nobody has ever heard of, has helped seniors in rural communities, seniors with mobility challenges, and seniors with early-stage dementia stay independent for an average of 7 additional years beyond what the traditional care models ever predicted. 7 years, and it costs a fraction of what a nursing home costs. So please stay with me all the way to the end, because that one could genuinely change your life, or the life of someone you love deeply. But before we dive into the full list, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me how old you are, and whether you or someone you love is navigating this exact question right now. What comes next when living completely alone starts to feel like too much? I read every single comment on this channel, everyone. Your stories matter to me, and they shape the content I make for you. Now, we're counting down from 5 to 1, from powerful to truly life-changing. Let's begin. Coming in at number 5, and please don't let the simplicity of this fool you, because the research behind it is extraordinary. We're talking about adult day health programs, and they are one of the most underutilized tools in all of senior wellness today. Here's what most people picture the moment they hear the words adult day program: a sterile room, some folding chairs, maybe a television turned up too loud. Let me be honest with you. That image is outdated and it is costing seniors their health. Modern adult day health programs, especially those operating under the PACE model, and that stands for Program of All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly, are medically sophisticated, socially rich environments that seniors attend during the day and return home from every single evening. You sleep in your own bed. You keep your cat, you keep your routines, but during the day, you receive nursing care, physical therapy, occupational therapy, hot meals, social programming, and physician oversight, all of it under one roof. A study conducted by researchers at Johns Hopkins University tracked 2,200 PACE participants over a 5-year period, and it found that those participants were 74% less likely to be admitted to a nursing home compared to similar seniors who weren't enrolled. 74%. And their hospitalization rates dropped by nearly a third within the first 18 months. Why does this work so well for aging bodies specifically? After the age of 65, what researchers call the deconditioning spiral begins to accelerate. Think of it like a car that only runs well when it's driven regularly. The moment you stop moving, stop engaging, stop being challenged mentally and physically, every system in the body begins to deteriorate faster. The muscles lose mass. The heart loses efficiency. The brain, starved of social stimulation, begins pruning away neural connections it assumes are no longer needed. Adult day programs interrupt that spiral every single day. And if you or your loved one is living with a family caregiver, this option is especially powerful. Caregiver burnout is a genuine medical crisis. Studies show that full-time family caregivers carry a 63% higher mortality rate than non-caregivers of the same age. A day program gives the caregiver room to breathe while giving the senior structured, professional care. It is not a compromise. It is an upgrade for everyone involved. To find PACE programs near you, Medicare.gov has a PACE Finder tool that works by zip code. Most PACE programs accept Medicare and Medicaid, and some offer sliding scale fees. The scientific references for everything I'm sharing today are linked in the description below. I had a patient, I'll call her Margaret, 78 years old, from Knoxville, Tennessee. Her daughter had been her full-time caregiver for 2 years, and both of them were utterly exhausted. Margaret's blood pressure was poorly controlled. She'd fallen twice in 6 months, and she was beginning to show early signs of vascular dementia. Within 8 months of enrolling in a local PACE program, her blood pressure had stabilized. She hadn't fallen once, and her daughter said something to me I will never forget. She said, "Dr. Mercer, my mother laughs again." Number 4 on our list is one that technology has transformed entirely over the last decade, and it is now within reach of nearly every senior in America, no matter where they live. We're talking about home health care combined with remote patient monitoring. And together, they form something that researchers are now calling the hospital without walls. Here is what this looks like in real life. A nurse or a certified home health aide visits your home, anywhere from daily to a few times a week, depending on your needs. They help with medications, wound care, physical therapy exercises, bathing if it's needed, and regular health assessments. And in between those visits, small wireless devices do the watching. A blood pressure cuff that sends its readings automatically, a pulse oximeter, a fall detection sensor, sometimes even a smart scale that tracks fluid retention in heart patients. All of it sends your data, in real time, to a clinical team that monitors it remotely. If your oxygen saturation drops, someone calls you before you even realize there's a problem. Research published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that seniors receiving home health care, combined with remote monitoring, had a 38% reduction in emergency room visits and a 29% reduction in hospital readmissions compared to seniors receiving standard community care. And a separate analysis from the Cleveland Clinic showed that among patients with congestive heart failure, one of the most common reasons seniors end up in nursing homes in the first place, remote monitoring reduced 30-day readmissions by an astonishing 52%. Why is staying home so medically powerful? There is a phenomenon in geriatric medicine called transfer trauma. It is far more dangerous than most people realize. When an older adult, particularly one over the age of 75, is moved from a familiar environment into an unfamiliar one, the body responds with a measurable stress reaction. Sleep architecture collapses, appetite drops, immune function suppresses. The brain, which leans heavily on environmental familiarity to compensate for early cognitive changes, becomes disoriented. Studies have shown that up to 30% of seniors show measurable cognitive decline within just 60 days of being placed in an institutional setting, even when the move itself was medically appropriate. Home health care eliminates transfer trauma entirely. You are in your spaces, surrounded by your things, sleeping in your own bed, eating food you recognize. And the clinical oversight is now sophisticated enough that many conditions once requiring institutional care can be managed just as effectively at home. The practical starting point here is a physician's referral. Medicare Part A covers home health care when a doctor certifies it as medically necessary, and the criteria are broader than most people realize. If you've recently been hospitalized, if you have a chronic condition requiring skilled nursing oversight, or if you have functional limitations affecting your daily activities, you very likely qualify. Ask your doctor directly, "Am I eligible for home health services under Medicare?" I think of Robert, 81 years old, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Robert had advanced COP, and his pulmonologist had told his family it was time to start looking at long-term care facilities. Instead, Robert enrolled in a home health program with remote oxygen monitoring. Within 4 months, his flare-ups had dropped by half. He was sleeping better. And he was still watching LSU football from his own recliner. He passed 2 years later, but he passed at home, in his own space, exactly the way he wanted. Now, before we get to the top 3, which is genuinely where things get remarkable, if this video is giving you information you haven't heard anywhere else, I want to ask you to subscribe to this channel and hit that like button. I release new content every single week, specifically for people navigating the real challenges of aging, not the generic stuff, not the fluff. The science-backed, honest, practical information your doctors sometimes just don't have the time to give you. Subscribe now, because what's coming next is the information I hear seniors say they wish they had known years earlier. Number 3 on our countdown is something that has been quietly transforming senior care in Scandinavia, the Netherlands, and Japan for more than 20 years, and it is finally gaining serious momentum here in the United States. I'm talking about intentional senior co-housing communities, and the research behind them is frankly staggering. Co-housing is not assisted living. It is not a nursing home. It is not even a retirement community in the traditional sense. Co-housing is a model where a small group of seniors, usually somewhere between 8 and 30 households, design and share a living environment. Private homes or apartments are clustered around shared common spaces. Everyone keeps their own private residence, their own front door, their own independence. But they also share a common house with a kitchen, living areas, gardens, and workshops. Neighbors share meals several times a week if they choose to. They check in on one another. They share their skills. One person drives. Another tends the garden. Another is a retired nurse who helps the neighbors understand their medications. A 15-year longitudinal study conducted by the Danish Institute for Local and Regional Government Research followed 400 seniors living in co-housing communities, and it found that those residents had a 35% lower rate of depression, a 28% lower rate of hospitalizations, and lived an average of 2.4 years longer than their age-matched peers in conventional housing. 2.5 additional years of life, simply from choosing your neighbors. The mechanism here is profound, and it connects directly to what loneliness does to the aging body at a cellular level. Researchers at Brigham Young University analyzed data from 148 studies involving more than 300,000 participants, and they concluded that social isolation increases mortality risk by 29%. That is comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. After the age of 70, when spouses pass, when driving becomes difficult, when children live in distant cities, isolation becomes the default setting for millions of seniors. Co-housing is a structural solution to a structural problem. Think of your immune system after 70 like a fire station with a shrinking crew. Social connection, real, daily, spontaneous human contact is one of the only forces we know of that keeps that crew staffed and alert. When you're isolated, that crew dwindles, and inflammatory markers begin to rise, C-reactive proteins. Tumor necrosis factor. These inflammatory signals, when they stay chronically elevated, accelerate cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and even cancer progression. Co-housing suppresses them naturally, just by putting people near each other. Here in the United States, the Elder Co-housing Network and the Co-housing Association of America maintain directories of existing and forming communities all across the country. Some are faith-based. Some are LGBTQ affirming. Some are designed specifically for seniors who share a hobby, like music or farming. The financial models vary. Some are rental. Some involve purchasing a unit. But nearly all of them cost significantly less than assisted living while delivering significantly better health outcomes. I want you to think about Eleanor, 74 years old, from Burlington, Vermont. Eleanor had been widowed for 3 years, and she was slowly withdrawing from life. Skipping meals. Not sleeping. Canceling her doctor's appointments. Her daughter, who lived 4 states away, was terrified. Eleanor moved into a senior co-housing community 18 months ago. Today, she coordinates a weekly dinner for 14 neighbors. She's lost 11 pounds without even trying, and she told me her blood pressure medication has actually been reduced because her numbers are more consistent than they've been in a decade. She said something I think about often. She said, "I didn't know I was drowning until someone threw me a rope." We're at number 2 now, and this one tends to surprise people the most. Not because it's exotic or expensive, but because it takes something most families see as a burden and turns it into one of the most powerful health interventions in all of modern geriatric medicine. I'm talking about structured multi-generational living, intentional, well-designed, professionally supported arrangements where seniors live with, or in close proximity to, family members of different generations. Now, I know exactly what you might be thinking. Cramped bedrooms, family tension, a loss of privacy, and those concerns are legitimate. Poorly planned multi-generational living can absolutely create stress for everyone involved. But that is the key phrase. Poorly planned. When this kind of living is structured intentionally, with clear boundaries, appropriate physical modifications to the home, caregiver respite resources, and professional support woven into the arrangement, the health outcomes for seniors are among the best documented in all of gerontology research. A landmark study published in The Gerontologist followed 3,100 seniors in structured multi-generational arrangements over 8 years. Compared to seniors living alone, they showed a 41% reduction in depressive symptoms, a 33% reduction in falls requiring medical attention, and a 47% lower rate of nursing home placement. The fall reduction alone is staggering. Falls are the leading cause of injury death in adults over 65 in the United States, killing more than 36,000 seniors every single year. The science of why this works is rooted in what geriatricians call passive monitoring. It's the natural, low-effort supervision that comes simply from sharing space with people who care about you. An adult child notices their parent isn't eating well long before a doctor ever would. A grandchild notices that grandpa seems confused today in a way that's different viewed from yesterday. These tiny observations catch health changes early, when intervention is most effective. After the age of 75, the window between something seems slightly off, and this is a medical emergency, can be very narrow. Passive monitoring closes that gap. The practical considerations here are real and worth addressing honestly. Physical modifications to the home are often necessary. Grab bars, walk-in showers, a main floor bedroom and bathroom, ramp or lift installation, improved lighting. The ARP Home Fit Guide and the National Aging in Place Council can connect you with certified aging in place specialists, contractors, and occupational therapists who evaluate your specific home and design the modifications accordingly. Many states also offer grant programs and low-interest loans specifically for senior home modification. Your local area agency on aging, which you can find at eldercare.icl.gov, can walk you through what's available in your state. And for families where the living arrangement creates caregiver stress, respite care, short-term relief provided by a professional so family caregivers can rest, is covered under many Medicare Advantage plans and most state Medicaid waiver programs. The goal is never to make one family member carry everything alone. The goal is to distribute the support intelligently. Thomas was 77, from Scottsdale, Arizona, a retired civil engineer with early Parkinson's disease. His tremors were manageable, but his balance was deteriorating, and he lived alone in a house full of stairs. His son Mike proposed moving Thomas into a casita, a small separate unit that he built on his property. They worked with an occupational therapist who made specific modifications, enrolled Thomas in a 3-day-per-week adult day program so Michael could work without worry, and set up a remote monitoring system for medication reminders and fall detection. 18 months later, Thomas's neurologist told him his functional decline was progressing more slowly than she had expected for his stage of Parkinson's. He attends his grandson's baseball games, he's present for his family's life, and he goes to sleep every night in a place where he knows someone who loves him is 30 feet away. And now, we arrive at number 1. The single most powerful, most transformative, most underutilized alternative to nursing home placement that exists. The one I genuinely believe could reshape how an entire generation of Americans grows old. It's called the Village Network Model, and I need you to understand what this is because most people have never heard of it. Let me explain. In communities all across America, starting with the pioneering Beacon Hill Village in Boston, and now with over 350 village networks active across the country, seniors are organizing themselves into what researchers are calling self-directed aging ecosystems. Here's how it works. A senior remains in their own home. They join a membership-based village network in their community. That network, staffed by a combination of paid coordinators and trained volunteers, provides a comprehensive web of support that is customized entirely to what that individual actually needs. Need a ride to your cardiologist? The Village Network has volunteer drivers. Need someone to help you make sense of a confusing Medicare explanation of benefits? The network has a volunteer who spent 30 years working in insurance. Need a handyman to install grab bars? The network has vetted contractors at negotiated rates. Need someone to simply sit with you because your spouse just died and you haven't spoken to another human being in 4 days? The Village Network has that too. And when medical needs grow beyond what volunteers can provide, the best village networks are now integrated with PACE programs, home health agencies, and telehealth services, creating a seamless continuum that meets seniors exactly where they are, in their own homes at every stage of the journey. A 6-year study published by the University of California, San Francisco's Institute for Health and Aging evaluated outcomes among 600 village network members across 11 states, compared to non-member seniors of similar age and health. The village members showed a 51% reduction in nursing home placement, a 44% reduction in emergency department visits, and reported significantly higher scores on validated measures of purpose, belonging, and life satisfaction. A 51% reduction in nursing home placement, from a membership that costs most villages somewhere between $500 and $2,200 per year. That is less than the cost of 4 days in a skilled nursing facility. Why is this the most powerful model of all? Because it addresses what I call the 4 pillars of aging in place failure. The 4 reasons seniors end up in institutional care long before they medically need to. Those 4 pillars are transportation loss, social isolation, home safety deterioration, and health system navigation difficulty. Village networks address all 4 at once, proactively, and on the senior's own terms. They treat seniors not as patients to be managed, but as community members with wisdom, skills, and the agency to contribute. After the age of 80, what researchers at Harvard Medical School describe as functional reserve, the body's buffer against illness and stress, decreases sharply. Think of it like a savings account. Every stressor, a hospitalization, a loss, a fall, a move, makes a withdrawal. Village networks make daily deposits into that account. Small ones, mostly. A friendly face, a reliable ride, a problem solved before it ever became a crisis. But compounded over months and years, those deposits make the difference between a savings account that's depleted at 83 and one that still has reserves at 91. The Village to Village Network, their website is vtvnetwork.org, maintains a directory of all the active village networks across the United States. You can search by zip code. And if there isn't one in your community yet, their resources include a guide for starting one. Some of the most successful village networks in the country were started by a single retired person with a phone and a folding table at the local library. This is genuinely something a community can build for itself. I want to tell you about Dorothy. Dorothy is 84 years old from Eugene, Oregon. She has moderate osteoarthritis, well-managed type 2 diabetes, and mild hearing loss. 3 years ago, her family was in serious conversations about memory care placement. Not because Dorothy's cognition was severely impaired, but because she had stopped driving. She had stopped leaving the house, she had stopped eating properly, and she had fallen twice in 2 months. Her daughter found their local village network through a social worker. Dorothy joined. Within 6 months, Dorothy had a volunteer grocery shopper, a weekly walking buddy, a monthly book club through the village, and a volunteer tax preparer who caught an error that saved her $800. Her nutrition improved, her activity improved, her A1C, that's the marker for blood sugar control and diabetes, dropped from 8.1 to 6.9. Her last fall was 2.5 years ago. And last month, Dorothy started volunteering herself for the village network, driving other members to their appointments 2 mornings a week. She told me, "I spent so long thinking I was the one who needed help. Now, I'm the help." That is what independence looks like at 84. That is what we are fighting for. So here is what I need you to hear, as clearly as I can possibly say it. The decision about where and how you spend the later years of your life is one of the most consequential decisions a human being ever makes. For your health, for your joy, for your sense of self, for the length of your life itself, and for far too long, that decision has been presented as a binary. Either you manage entirely on your own, or you go to a facility. That binary is false. It has always been false. And the 5 alternatives I've shared with you today, adult day health programs, home health with remote monitoring, senior co-housing, structured multi-generational living, and village networks, prove that it is false, with decades of data and thousands of human stories behind them. It is never too late to choose a different path. It is never too late to find community. It is never too late to design a life that is genuinely yours, supported, safe, connected, and on your own terms. The research could not be clearer. When seniors hold on to their autonomy, their community, and their sense of purpose, their bodies and their minds respond. Inflammation drops, cognition stabilizes, hearts beat stronger, people laugh more, people live longer. Not because of some miracle drug, but because of dignity. Your independence is worth fighting for. Your quality of life is worth fighting for. And I promise you, the tools to protect both of them are more available, more affordable, and more powerful than almost anyone ever bothered to tell you. If you found today's video helpful, please subscribe to this channel. I create content like this every week because I believe you deserve accurate, actionable information delivered with the respect you have earned. Hit the like button so this video reaches other seniors and families who need it. All the scientific references cited today are linked in the description below. And now, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment and tell me which of these 5 alternatives surprised you the most. Or, if you or someone you love has already tried one of these approaches, I want to hear how it went. Your story might be exactly what another viewer needs to read today. I'll be in the comments. I'll see you there.